What's going on, everyone? We are talking Sinners, directed by Mr. Ryan Coogler, also starring Michael B. Jordan. E-Man, what did you think about the film?
Well, I mean, I'm a horror fan, so you had me sold at vampires and the horror genre, and of course, being black, I I couldn't help but see black folks messing with vampires. Like this had the perfect combination of everything that I enjoyed. I am a fan of Ryan Coogler overall as a director. Great cast, good talent, and yeah, just overall, I love the music and everything, how they made this feel unique, and I thought that this was like a really solid film.
Sounds good, man. I want to echo most of that. I did enjoy it. I just walked out of the theater maybe 30 minutes ago, came straight home, turned on the lights, turned on the camera, sent the link to E-Man. We already knew we was going to do this. E-Man saw it about a week ago, so this review is going to be fresh for me, and he's been sitting on it for about a week. So like I said, I enjoyed it overall. When I first saw the trailers for this, I was excited. It's Ryan Coogler, it's Michael B. Jordan, and it was a bunch of black people. And I always like seeing us on film, not just in a leading or supporting role, but when the cast is 95%, 90% black people. That's just something that we don't get too often. But with that being said, I didn't want to be biased. I didn't want to just run out of theater and be like, oh my God, it's the best movie ever. I loved it, number one of 2025, because I don't feel that way. While I really did enjoy the movie, I didn't love it. Yeah, no, there's not a number of things I can say I disliked about it or I hated. And I do have some questions about the movie, but it honestly took a little too long for me to get going. I don't want to say that I was bored, but I was kind of asking myself, okay, where are we going with this? The story does not seem as strong as I want it to be. Now, when the vampire showed up, because we are talking spoilers, guys, we're going to spoil this up, down, left, right, in, and out. That is your warning. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. When the vampires showed up, man, they showed out, and it was a nice roller coaster ride from that point until the end of the movie. But they just felt that it took a little too long to get there, because for one, I really wasn't that interested into the characters and all of their backstories. The long rides in the country with the cotton fields in the back. When Delroy Lindo was doing his monologue, I couldn't even understand half of what he was saying, and that was kind of frustrating to me. Maybe you can fill in the blanks, but not a horrible movie, not a bad movie. It is a positive film, but this had a lot of hype behind it. And did it reach the hype for me? No, it did not. Did I still have a great time at the theater? Yes, I did. You mentioned music. That was the best part of the film by far. Done by Ludwig Göransson, who we're familiar with. Coogler worked with him on both of the Black Panther movies. I think he also worked with Christopher Nolan on Oppenheimer as well, because Hines was busy doing something else. But yeah, those are my drilling impressions of the film. We're all gonna have our own separate spoiler reviews on our channels, written and video, if you guys want to check that out. But to me, since we're talking spoilers, the best part of the movie was when Sammy was performing at the juke joint, when he pulled out that guitar and he
Yeah.
let those vocal cords out and summoned the devil. Some of the devil. And also, I'm really interested in talking to you about this because, you are a strong man of faith, a man of God, and there are a lot of parallels with going to the club and then showing up on church going to the club Saturday night, showing up to church Sunday morning as if nothing happened at all the past 8 hours. I ain't judging nobody because I've been there myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's a whole conversation. But I wanted to ask you, man, I'm pretty sure that's something that you noticed, that you picked up yourself. So I want your 2 cents there as far as the, club, and then church 8 hours later, but also the music and that performance from Sammy, because for me, that was the highlight of the film.
Yeah, I mean, so shout out to Miles Canton. I mean, brother he's got some lungs on him, like he can sing. And no, I think for me, and this is part of like just getting immersed in the lore And this is what I like, right? I like it when a horror movie can give me the rules, give me this world, tell me what works, what doesn't work, you know, define things clearly. And Coogler, I think, jumped straight into it when he basically was like, hey, listen, music, it is, there every generation or every once in a while there's going to be someone special that comes around that just has this connection with music, and it can tap into the spiritual realm. Now, I'm not going to anything biblical, I'm not going to anything in anything mystical. I'm just saying this is what the movie is establishing, right? So I can appreciate that because, as you mentioned, and as the film is mentioned, music, it could be the devil's music, right? But at the same time, music can also be something that's heavenly or divinely inspired. I mean, the same way you got devil's music, you got angels in heaven singing to God. So it's kind of like, what does it do? So I liked how they used music kind of like as a theme to connect not only like all these dualities, like the past and the future, good and evil. And in other words, music in itself is not actually a good or bad thing. It's really what you do with it or what it attracts that may be good or it may be bad. So I thought the film did a nice job in terms of um carrying that idea throughout and putting it in a very familiar vampire lore. Like, I've never heard music and vampires at the same time, like in all the vampire movies I've seen. So I like how they did that. And of course, like the juke joint scene, where Sammy was singing, like I thought that was great because Coogler put those actual visuals where you see, the African dancing, and then you actually see some Chinese, dancers, and then you see like the modern day hip hop, dancing and stuff. Like, I thought that was really dope to visualize the concept that he was trying to echo. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. I like the theme of it, and I think it worked.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. Like I said, best scene, you said past and present, all the different cultures. I'm really glad you touched on that. Even to be more specific, I thought they was going to play Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. And then it's like I was able to tell, okay, that's East Coast, that's South, that's the South Side, that's the West Coast right there. I'm like, oh my God, like, is Snoop about to drop a verse in here or whatever? Am I about to hear Dr. Dre? And that's amazing. All different cultures. You said, it was a lot of black people in there. We got the 90s too. I got reminded of Biggie. We saw the Asian lady dancing. I don't know what African country this is where they had the tights on with the feathers around the ankles and the knees and the elbows.
From.
Yeah, I was just like, man, he's throwing all this in, and it was all so seamless. Excuse me. So many different time periods, so many different cultures, but all jamming to the same beat in a sense. It wasn't all over the place. It was like it was supposed to happen, like it was meant to be. Everybody's in harmony, getting along together, and that's the beautiful side of it, like you said.
Sure.
But like the pastor said, Sammy's dad, it was like, you should be singing music for the Lord and not in a juke joint where everybody's sweating all over each other. And that was an interesting way to put it, especially with that performance by Jasmine Lyon. Who was the love interest of Sammy himself. So I really did enjoy that. That was the best part of the movie to me. And then especially the way they tied it in with the editing. I thought, I actually like this movie more on a technical aspect, on a technical front, than I did as far as like story and, character arcs and things of that nature. You can let me know if you agree or disagree. But at the very beginning of the movie, where Sammy we didn't know exactly what happened. He has the broken guitar. He's all beat up and scarred and bruised and battered. And
I thought he converted. I
did.
thought he was a vampire and he was gonna kill everybody.
That crossed my mind too. I'm glad he didn't, because it was children in there and stuff. I'm like, oh, is this what we're doing right here? But when it was loud burst of sound, and it would cut real quick to I think what was happening the previous night. I like that right there. I was like, okay, this is going to be a technical achievement right here, and I'm here for it. And like I said,
Mhm.
that was the best part of the movie for me. You said something else though about the rules.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that? Do you think that they set the rules up for this universe well and stuck to it, or abandoned
Um,
it?
I thought that there were some instances that I would need to analyze deeper on a second rewatch. As we're recording now, I'm probably not going to watch it again until it comes out, like on Friday. But there was one thing, and again, I could be wrong. I saw it a long time ago, and saw it only one time. But I remember they specifically said, if you can't you can't kill the one that turned them, because they're individual, I guess, in a way. And then I was wondering, I was like, but wait, but they can feel pain together. Like I want to say, like when Woomney's character threw the garlic water at one, like they all started burning,
Yeah,
or with the guitar in the head and they all had a headache. Like I was like, what? So if y'all can all feel pain, how come y'all all can't die at the same time? Like I don't know. I don't know. But so yeah, I mean, you know, was it a little loosey goosey with the rules? Maybe. I think the biggest, most important rule was the rule of the music, and like how the music is not even just the music, but the person playing the music, like why they are just so special. Especially if you watch the post-credit scene, like that also, I think, kind of speaks to that. But I will say that even in the last scene, because I do have some issues with the film too, similar to what you had said earlier. But the last thing that bothered me was like, ain't no way. And I've watched a lot of vampire movies. There's no way you gonna tell me, out of all them vampires, especially the head vampire, that y'all don't know what time it is. You don't know what time the sun come up.
okay.
Your number one weakness,
Yeah, yeah.
none of y'all, because keep in mind, once they get converted, they have shared memories. None of y'all know when the hell to get up out of there. None of y'all know when to go get some cover. I've seen every vampire know exactly, uh-oh, we got 10 minutes till sunrise.
Yeah,
Uh-oh, I better get my butt in the coffin or something. Come on, man. That was the one thing I was like,
I'll
come
give you
on,
that.
man. Like that, I don't believe it. Now, and just to nitpick some more, this is where I do believe the writing should have been a little tighter. You should have found a way to where maybe you trap all the vampires in a certain area where they have no choice and then they get burned up or something like that. But for them to just be outside when the sun coming up and they just come on, that
I'll give you that.
uh-uh.
I didn't even think about that. When I first heard you say that, I thought you was talking about the good guys, as far as y'all, you know, why the Asian lady invited them in, and the
Oh, she got
sun,
on my nerves. But
yeah,
yeah, I
the
get it.
sun came up 30, 45 minutes later, so you could have
Hmm.
waited. That's what I thought you meant right there. Um, how did you feel about Michael B. Jordan and the dual role of Smoke and Stack and Smoke? How did you feel about
Um,
that?
I think that it was probably one of his better performances, but I think we need to be careful in assuming that it displayed a large amount of range. Like he did just enough to to seem like two different people, but not enough to be like, oh man, Mike is really a completely different person. Like to me, it was kind of like if you're talking about a dial, like from 0 to 100, and 50 is just equal. It was almost like, all right, when I'm Smoke, I'm gonna be like 40, and then when I'm Stack, I'm gonna be like 60. He didn't go from 0 to 100. He just kind of tweaked it just a little bit. So he stayed within his limitations. But I think he still gave a good performance for what it asked for in this role.
I got you. Yeah, it was good to me. You said it was one of his better performances. It wasn't a bad performance, but I liked
No,
him more in Fruitvale Station. I liked
sure.
him more in Creed. I liked him more in Black Panther. To be honest with you. I got, I was triggered some emotions out of me in all those performances, especially
Hmm.
Fruitvale, and then Creed. We've all been in a corner before and have to fight our way out. I've never been a gangster before, and robbed some Italians and this and that. Trying to throw a juke drum party, and I'm not trying to throw shade or be funny, but I thought the performance was fine. But I just when I didn't like, to be honest with you, I really didn't like the movie until the party started. Until that's where everything came alive for me. As far the music was fire the whole film, but that's when I started caring about everybody. When they all came together and they were looking after each other. Up until that point, it just didn't do that much for me. And I was just kind of thinking like, am I sleepy or
No,
like
I,
what's? Go ahead.
I was actually going to say this is something I said in my own review. I think a lot of that was because of the pacing of the film. When you look at the first act of the film, like the first third of it, um, it's not. It feels like a movie we've seen before, right? We're black. We've probably seen movies about slavery. We've probably seen movies about the Jim Crow era. There was nothing radically specific or unique about the first act of the movie that was sold to you, right? Because when you're watching the trailer and you're looking at the poster and all the things that are going to get your butts in the seats, you're not coming for a prequel to or you're not looking for a Jim Crow movie, right? You're not really caring about the KKK. You're not really caring about the segregation and stuff. That's not what's being sold. What's being sold is you got these twins, you got these black folks, you got these vampires. Get into it. So to me, if you had shaved 20 minutes out the beginning, kind of condensed it down a little bit, because once you get to setting up the juke joint, once you get to the vampire going into the couple's house and stuff, that's when you really start to pick up a little bit. And I would also say that, like, on the flip side, I agree with you on the fact that the beginning was not all that great. On the flip side, for me, the ending felt rushed. Like, I was like, yo, I waited all this time to finally get to this big moment in the movie with the juke joint and the big battle, and you finish it off that quickly.
I give you that.
Like, I
Yeah.
was getting annoyed. I was like, wait a minute, how are you guys turning people into vampires, right? And they're inside the juke joint, with Haley Steinfeld, and then Michael B. Jordan's character, Stack, and y'all running away. Like, you guys are like the most powerful people in there. You got the art of surprise and stuff. Why are you not like killing folks on your way out? Like that. So some of the writing in that case and how quickly they rushed the ending, that bothered me. I mean, even Delroy Lindo, like how he was just like, all right, just
Yeah,
snack time.
man.
I was
I
like, wait,
didn't
what?
I didn't
Like,
like that at all.
so yeah,
It's
it was, I felt like he kind of dropped the ball there. All
yeah.
the setup, I was cool with. A little bit of the action, I was cool with. Like when the dude went outside, tried to come back, wanted to be invited. I'm like, I'm cool with all that stuff, but it was just like, man, it felt like you was rushing at the end, and
I
it could have
will
been
give you
better. I
that.
would have taken 15 minutes more for that scene rather than
100%.
the beginning and all
100%.
that early setup.
100%. Like the ending was rushed, but the beginning took too long. If they could have
Yeah.
just kind of switched. I will say I really did enjoy how everybody reacted to the crap hitting the fan, because
Mhm.
if when people are doing dumb stuff in horror movies, you're always screaming at the screen like, "Oh my gosh, do this, do that." Other than Sammy putting his face up to the door the second time after the first time the knife went through. I really did like it. Wumi, I forgot her actual character's name. She was like, I've heard tales. I forgot the first name. She's like, they're not, she didn't say demons. She said some word with a
Mhm.
H, but these, vampires are different, and how they were just able to piece things together. Like, wait a minute, why are you trying? You're a big dude. You can just bogart your way in here, Why are you asking for permission now? This don't make sense. Yada yada
Mhm.
yada. I liked all of that, man. I
Yeah.
really did. I thought that was dope. I even liked the moments of comedy in the movie as well. I thought they infused that, perfectly. That was seamless. It wasn't forced. It wasn't shoehorned. It just kind of felt natural and
Yeah.
organic. When the villain was trying to get in, and he was like, "Hey, we
Mhm.
just want to sing some songs," and they pulled out their guitars and they started all singing the same, and like it was a sequence. It was funny. It wasn't goofy. It wasn't over the top or anything like that. So,
Well,
I
I
really
need your thoughts though. Like, what did you think about like the whole river dance?
um. It was a bit
Like
much.
they slipped a little musical in there.
Yeah, it was I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't
Okay.
love it either. I know at that point in time, I was wondering what their goal was, what their end game was. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, you just want to turn everybody, or you want to turn a few people and just kind of have a feast, because you
Mhm.
you you have bloodlust. And they did kind of explain that, pretty well. The confrontation that they had at the door, were pretty much it was all of the vampires and all of the people that haven't turned, just like when he was speaking Chinese, and just like, hey, we can live forever. Come on out here. And the Asian guy was like, hey, let's get the car. I liked all that and that exposition. That was cool. But the river dance was that was an interesting choice. For
It
me
was
right
something.
there. Yeah, it was. How'd you feel about
I
Haley?
liked how they proposed, how they were trying to like make that offer to the black folks, and they were basically like, "Listen, look at the world that you live in,"
Yeah, yeah,
and they were telling them like, this place that you just bought, you bought it from the KKK. It's a setup. This
yeah.
world hates you,
Right.
I wanted to say like that was something I did like with the writing, to put the main characters in a really tough position, because if you're a black person fresh off of slavery, right into Jim Crow, the KKK are real. You're living in the deep South and you're tempted with power, and not just power, but like
And more,
community,
and yeah,
because the vampires, they're like, yo, man, like we got a nice gang going on over here. It's the Fang gang,
yeah, yeah.
and we're fine, like in other words, what the hell do you have to lose?
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
did like that they introduced that concept, and I think it was kind of supported. I know you mentioned Delroy's monologue earlier. I think that is what was meant to help people understand how bad life was for black people. The fact that you were still getting lynched, the fact that um just existing is a threat in this world. And you see all of that trauma living through Delroy's character, who's now become a drunk because he can't cope with the horrors of his life, of
Yeah.
what's going around. So, it I thought it just made the vampires offer interesting for black people at that time, because what else did you have to do besides try and survive in a world that don't want you?
This is true. I agree with you 100%. Ryan, the writers, they did knock that part out of the park. And I like how they focused on each character individually during that point in time and told a personal story. Like, this is how you can take advantage of it. This is how it'll benefit you. This is how it'll
Mhm.
benefit you. On the surface, you're like, hell no, I don't want to die. I don't want to be a vampire. I
Right.
don't want to be the undead. But then when it's your brother, your twin brother at that, like, come on, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? We living a good life over here. I know you don't like chitlins, but they're really good if you put some hot sauce on it and some, Parmesan. I was like, damn, like he almost convinced me, like, hey,
Mm.
let me live a blissful life, So, I'll give him that. So, great job there. But I wanted to ask, how did you feel about Haley Steinfeld's character? Did you like it? Did you
Um,
hate it? Are you in the
she was
middle?
fine. I thought she did have good chemistry with with Michael. You know, that's probably why that meme was flying around of Josh Allen, you know, holding on to her a little extra tight, you know. But I mean, you know, it was I liked what she did in this role. I like that for her as an actress because growing up, you know, I've seen her, you know, what in Bumblebee, you know, Hawkeye, you know, like you see her in like these Disney safe type of roles or whatever. So to see her like actually be like, nah, I can not only be a woman, but I can also be a vampire. You know,
Yeah.
like I like to see actors step outside of themselves and do something different. And I thought it was a good role for her. I actually liked, and this is outside the movie, I liked how it pushed her. I liked how it challenged her because she had to play a character that basically was passing, right? She
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
a light-skinned daddy. She had black in her, but she didn't pass the one drop black rule back then, so she could pass as white. And I like how that challenged Haley in real life because that is her story. Like I think on her mama's side or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Her mama is like biracial, and you know her grandfather I think is black. Don't quote me on that, but I like the fact that you know that stuff made her think like, hey, maybe you might want to empathize a little bit more. You know, say Black Lives Matter and mean it
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
she hadn't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. She was cool, man. Also, I want to ask you, like, did the IMAX did that do anything for you? I like that. I like a large aspect ratio. The
Yeah.
entire film wasn't shot that way, but it didn't need to be. But
Yeah, I liked how Ryan actually made it. He shot it like in dual. You know, it was shot with IMAX, but the ratios were a little different. The one time that I noticed like the real shift was in the juke joint, right? And it was right after you know, the Chinese lady was like, "Come on in." And if you notice, it expanded, you know, at that point. And it was like you got to see the full
hmm
area of the joint while all the chaos was happening. And that's where, you know, I'm like perked up.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
oh, we in here now. Like, oh, look at all this chaos and
yeah, yeah.
madness going on now. Yeah, just like that. So I liked that, and I even liked a lot of the cinematography in the film because of the IMAX. I mean, even when Smoke was fighting Stack, you know, you notice like the cameras literally are turned upside down in certain areas or at certain moments. But yeah, I mean, like watching it in IMAX, if you can, I think would be worth it. Is it gonna be as mind blowing as watching Avatar or something? No, but I appreciated the fact that it was shot and they tried to do the best to take advantage of it.
Got you, got you. Big IMAX fan over here. Y'all let us know what y'all think too in that comment section. But something that hey, I loved him taking out the KKK at the end. I was
Sure.
clapping, I was cheering. Everybody was like, "Yeah!" That was very
Yeah.
satisfying. Um, I mean, beautiful. Just chef's kiss. Um,
Very
I don't
Tarantino like.
give you that too. I
He
don't.
gave me
I
the Inglorious Bastards type of vibe.
did, but I don't know about I guess the imagination that he was having of his woman out there breastfeeding their child. That just was,
Yeah.
kind of
Well, he
random.
was dying.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of weird for me. And then just the whole ending where Samuel's growing up and they're in the 90s, but then you have Stack and the White Devil lady coming there to I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me,
So
bro.
it's funny, and you know, if you guys have a chance, I'll post this up because you know while I did get a chance to talk to Ryan about that, that was actually one of my questions for him. My first question for him was, "Can you explain the post credit scene?" And just to kind of give you a brief thing, now I will post this on themovieblog.com, where I'll explain where Coogler explains everything about it. But just to kind of give it to you in a nutshell, that was like one of the first scenes that they shot. Um, because the whole movie was inspired by Ryan Coogler's uncle that passed away. And his uncle was really, really big into jazz. Ryan Coogler would always, be around his uncle, hear the jazz, never really take it in and appreciate it until like after he passed. So whenever he heard jazz, he thought about his uncle, and he talked about how that artist, that jazz artist at the end, like that was his uncle's like idol in the past. And using Michael B, I'm butchering the story, but like using Michael B. Jordan to come in and kind of give him a hug was actually like a way probably for Ryan to be like, this is for my uncle. So anyway, just read I'll post it online if anyone wants to actually know what the post-credit scene means to Ryan Coogler. But it's way more of a sentimental, artistic thing than it is, hey, here's how we set up another franchise, or hey, here's how we wrap up this story. It's more personal for him, and more of a dedication to his uncle.
Yeah, they probably should have left that part out. You know, when before that scene came and the film ended, people applauded. People got up and was happy with the film, and then started walking out. But then, we started getting flashes of the mid-credit scene, and we get a whole nother scene, and like people clapped again. It was just weird, and it didn't make sense to me. And I'm just like, why didn't y'all eat them? Okay, So right before, like Smoke promised that you wouldn't go after him, that he'll let you live out your life. Okay, so why are you showing up now? Like just to taunt him? Like what was the point? It just,
Oh,
I
the
don't.
music. The music
Okay,
attracted him. Remember, he's that special person every generation.
okay.
So that
Well,
music drew them in the same way it drew them in back
So,
then.
so, so he wasn't playing music for 60 years, or I mean, was this the
Maybe
27th
they've been watching him
reunion or
for 60
something?
years.
Yeah, maybe, but
I don't know.
it's too many questions, for me as far as that's concerned. But, man, like, just the fact that I just wanted to strong. I love the music. I thought it was
Mhm,
fantastic. I love the editing. I loved all of
mhm.
the technical aspects and the artistry of the film. I did want a stronger story though. For them just
Sure.
to be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're in
Yeah.
Chicago and let's just go throw a juke joint, a party down here and try to make some money." It just that was just kind of weak to me. And then the whole film takes place in a day. Nobody has anything to do. Well, hey, we need 100 pieces of fish. We need you to go out the door. We need you to cook the food. Like nobody had plans. I mean, I know it's not 2025, but it's just
I
like
mean,
they really organized that pretty
if they
quick.
paying the kind of money they was paying, you drop what you was doing too.
Well, okay, you got a point there. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. That
They was
conversation,
paying them in bills. They
yeah,
said $15 for a whole job.
yeah. That conversation that he had with old dude's wife too. Well, F your wife too. I was like, oh, that's you taking it too far. I would have tried to spite him as well. I'll take you $40, but I'm gonna still swing on you. You know what I'm saying? What really stood out to you, good or bad, that I have not brought up that you would like to
Oh,
get off your
I can tell you
chest?
right now, because
Yes.
I specifically told Ryan Coogler I had beef with him about this. Introducing, because I didn't know I wanted to see this, Native American vampire hunters. I want to
Man.
know way more about them. I
I
was like,
forgot
bro,
about
how
that.
the F you gonna show me something and tell me I can't have it?
Oh.
Like, I was so mad. I was so
Yeah.
because I'm like, who are they? Where
Yeah.
are they going? Will they come back? Are we, like, we're doing a franchise with them, right? Like we gonna
Yeah.
follow it. I want to know what they know about, because it's always interesting when you get to see familiar stories from a different perspective.
Yeah.
We've always seen vampires, let's just say it from a white perspective. We finally got a little taste of black and vampires with Vampire in Brooklyn, Blade, and now with Sinners, but we've never gotten it from a Native American perspective who have a whole different connection with good, evil, spirituality, stuff like that. I'm like, I want to see that. Get like where. So yeah, I was. It was like it didn't hurt the movie, but I was just like, yo, that give me a sequel with that. I'll take that.
I agree. I agree. Is there anything else, sir? Is there anything else that just like, man, they did this, they did that. And it's just
No.
you hit the nail on the head, man, because they knew what they was doing. They had to have known, like, he is not what you seem. If he is in your house right now, you need to get out or it's going to be bad for you. So they had a ton of run-ins with them before. Was the main vampire this guy? Was he
Oh,
a part?
Jack. I liked him. I thought
Yeah, I
he
did
did a really
too.
good job.
Oh, hell yeah.
I
Did a
thought he did a good
great
job. He
job.
reminded me of Buddy from the first Blade movie, Steven Dorff.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
did
yes.
a really, really good. I was just like, dude, like, this is not a dude I would want to run across.
Right, right.
Like, he was scary in a charming way.
Perfectly said, so I'm gonna have to steal that with the red eyes and all that. Did a
Yeah.
great job.
Oh, and I like that too. I
Yeah,
like how subtle the design was for the vampires. Like, it wasn't like, okay, we gonna turn our face ugly and we gonna do this transformation. No, it's just red eyes, sharp, nasty looking teeth, drooling,
yeah.
and that's it.
And
I'm
the
like, yo,
sound, like
simple is better sometimes.
the sound, the way that they would get up when they were turning, like they was coming to, just come like, I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
like that's very effective. Like, okay, you're not normal anymore. Something is very wrong. So yeah, his name is Remick. In the film, I really did like that. But especially like you hit the nail on the head, man, with the Native American vampire hunters, because I wanted more lore as far as that's concerned. Because when Remick first popped up, he just literally dropped into the scene and was getting burnt by the sun. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna get a backstory, origin. But I was like, okay, we all know a little bit about vampires. I mean, we didn't get an origin of vampires in Blade, and I love that movie or any other vampire movie in the past 50, 60 years or whatever. But I still wanted more of the lore. It took too long to set up, but then when we got to what we wanted to get to, like the ending, like you said, it was rushed and they should have drawn that out. And, that's unfortunate. I mean, I still enjoyed the film. It wasn't the best Ryan Coogler movie, in my opinion. But if I had to give it a rating out of 1 out of 10, I would say I can't give it any higher than a 7.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely passing. I think it deserves more than a 6.5. But I'm comfortable with a good 7 out of 10. Where are you at, sir? If you had to
I
rate
ended
it.
up giving it an 8.5. I did have a good time with it. Although I do acknowledge a lot of the flaws for sure it does have. But at the same time, like, I had to try to take in consideration the trailers, because like, if I counted the trailers against the movie, which I don't think is fair, um I probably end off with a 7, because I hated the fact that you revealed Haley was going to turn. You revealed that one of the twins was going to turn. Like, if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
had left that out, that would
yeah,
have been a whole lot more enjoyable. And that's why I rated it higher, because I'm like, the trailer is not the movie, right? That's the advertising from WB. That's not Ryan Coogler's fault that some marketing exec decided to spoil some of the movie and therefore spoil some of my viewing experience. So, I wouldn't mind, with the trailer, I'd say it's probably like a 7. Without the trailer, I think if people walk in cold, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. No, it's definitely not his best movie. But it's better than Wakanda Forever.
Oh yeah, I give you that. Yeah, I give you that.
you
Let
know,
me.
so
I'm glad I remember this. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I'm gonna take my
mhm,
imaginary tinfoil kufi and put it on my
mm,
head and play a little conspiracy game with you, if you don't mind.
mhm,
May leave this in the review, may edit it out. We don't know. If you're seeing
mhm,
it, that means I left it in. This is a film produced by Warner Brothers, correct?
mhm.
Yes. Rhetorical in a way. Also, Lovecraft Country was by Warner Brothers too, right?
Mhm.
Both of those pieces of entertainment, those IPs, kind of have to deal with the same type of genre: lore, vampires, monsters, magic. Um, we don't know exactly why we don't get a Lovecraft Country 2, but when I was watching this, I was thinking about it. And I was like, man, especially if this movie is successful, which right now on Rotten Tomatoes with 48 reviews, it is sitting at a 100%. That just means that all of the 45 people that saw the movie, they liked it. They gave it at least a 6 out of a 10 or higher. They're not saying that it's a
Mhm.
perfect score.
Right.
So I don't know if you saw a interview with Michael B. Vance
Mhm,
recently, the husband
mhm.
of
Breakfast Club?
yeah.
Mhm,
He gave his opinion on why Lovecraft Country 2 or season 2 did not come out. And he says that the
mhm,
studio did not want to give that power not just to a black person but to a black woman. Now,
mhm,
we have this film here, same studio, nothing but black
mhm,
people, black
mhm,
writer, black director, but it's not a black woman. Do you think
mhm,
that what Michael B. Vance had to say has any weight to it, or
mhm.
is it just a bunch of nonsense that should disappear like a fart in the wind? Is it my
I
question even
think
making
that,
sense?
I think it goes deeper than that. So, first of all, while it's Warner Brothers overall, um, it was the TV division or HBO division that said no to Misha Green, right? So that it's not like David Zaslav is looking at every single project and saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Like it was the film division, Mike DeLuca and I forget the other lady's name, who went in a bidding war to get to get Ryan Coogler's movie because it was other studios that wanted this and WB just outbid them.
I forgot all about that.
Um and they gave that the green light. So you also have to think about the fact that, you're talking about movies are going to make more money. Um Coogler has a much more, I would say, attractive track record in terms of big blockbuster hits and more earning potential compared to TV, right? Which Lovecraft Country and Misha Green was doing prior to that. So it's not exactly apples to apples to apples. But the further you do look into what Courtney was talking about, think about what Misha Green has come out and said about what she was trying to do with
Hmm.
season 2 and season 3. She
Hmm.
was like, yo, black people own
States.
the magic now.
Yeah.
They're putting white folks in their place now. Like there's going to be some form of black supremacy now. Like this was some stuff that,
Yeah.
imagine if you're a white executive or a room of white executives, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Huh? We getting what we are? What? Like they getting freaked out.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think Misha probably overplayed her hand, and at the same time, I think the executives got scared and maybe even insecure. And was just like, I don't feel this makes me uncomfortable. I don't like this idea. You know, I don't want to be colonized.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
that played a part.
Well said, sir. Well said. I was just really thinking about it when I was watching this. Wumi was in Lovecraft Country. She was in this. Black people, black
Yeah,
people. So I was just thinking to myself, Lovecraft Country was so successful, got all the awards, accolades, recognition, views. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, if they see this movie as well too, that it's successful, critically acclaimed,
mhm.
audience love it, can we, start hearing some more whispers of like, okay, let's do Lovecraft Country season 2. Because also it's under
I don't.
different management. Because Zaslav
It
wasn't
is
there until 2020 or 2019 or whenever this
right.
2021 or
And that's
whatever.
another
So
that's another factor too, is like, they've had a revolving door of executives and decision makers and stuff. But to me, I also look at, if I'm gonna put the same tinfoil hat on with you, um, one property is about black upliftment, and the other one is about blacks defeating another evil, vampires, along with another lateral evil with the KKK,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it's easy for complicit people that believe in white supremacy ideology, being very careful with my words here, to isolate and separate themselves away from the KKK.
Yeah.
Right? They could be like, no. Those are the bad ones.
Right.
They're not, he's not talking about us.
Right. 100%.
Now, when you're talking about us, now we're offended. But I don't wear a hood.
Right.
I don't carry torches, right? So it's easier to disassociate themselves from that and be like, okay, let Coogler pass. But Lovecraft Country is like, no, all of y'all complicit in this. We running all of America, right? You know, for black folks with magic. So that, I don't like it. Scary, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but
as much as I love a Lovecraft Country comeback, I don't.
Man,
they better take that to the Zeus network.
Yeah,
BT.
I'm crossing my fingers over here. I'm crossing my fingers, but
I love it.
I think that is going to wrap it up for me and E-Man's Center Spoilers Review. I believe this is going to be round 1, may have a round 2 and a round 3. Make sure you subscribe. I would have really appreciated it. E-Man would appreciate it as well. So subscribe. I'll let him. What you got going on your channel, man? Let the people know.
Yeah, make sure you come in every Friday, 7:00 Central Standard Time. We got our live chats where, I talk about all the movie news and entertainment in the week. I believe we will be doing our wrap up on Daredevil, Born Again, the season finale, and then I'll also be covering The Last of Us on HBO as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yes, and make sure you subscribe to my channel too. I would really appreciate it. I am covering Daredevil, Dope Thief, Good American Family. Also going to start covering, what is it called? The Godfather of Harlem, season 4. And so I'm going to be doing that with Lamont. And also, this won't be dropping until later on this year. But guys, Hidden Colors with Tariq Nasheed, he's coming out with part 6, and it's going down. I've reviewed Hidden Colors 5, 1804, American Maroons, and Book Break, and I may review the first 4 Hidden Colors as well, but I'm going to be talking about that and a bunch of other stuff that I got cooking in the kitchen. But guys, we just want to thank you again so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that I'm B. Avery. That's E-Man, and that's just our opinion. Peace out, and we'll see you next time. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Please subscribe.